So last day we have discussed about the concept of scope, and we have seen the basic difference between local and global variables. And uh, in the previous class, you see, we have we have considered a situation that we have a number of functions within our same program, right? So naturally now question will come that how we can write more than one function in a same program, because right till now we have idea about that everything we will write within the main function only. Now first question will come that why this writing other functions required, and then we will try to understand that how we can write this function and how we can use the function. So first thing is that let's come to a situation. Suppose that I'm sorry. Uh, so the topic for today is what you can say function. Now you see, assume there is a situation that I told you to write hello 5 times in your program. What is the simplest way that you can follow? You can simply write a main program. I'm just writing as an example, and you will write say printf statement 5 times, like this, total 5 times. So if I do this, obviously when if you run the program, hello will be printed 5 times. But you see, this solution is not a, you know, it's not a good solution. Why? The reason is that if I ask you to print the same word 500 times in your program, then it will be pretty difficult, because writing 500 printf statement is not a solution, because there is no foundation in any program. So naturally question will come that how we can do this by avoiding writing the same statement again. And at this point of time, you see, if there is a way by which we can re-execute the single statement printf hello 500 times, then obviously this printf will basically uh, you know will basically print 500 times. Hello will be printed 500 times. So this is what we have seen, that we can do this using a loop. Now assume that you have a set of code, and that set of code is need to be repeated more than once in some different places of the program. For example, assume there is a code I'm writing. I'm not writing exactly the code, I'm writing a situation. Suppose I am writing a function main, and there is some set of lines present here. You have written some set of code, and assume there is a code, a particular piece of code. Specifically, I'm writing in a different color so that you can realize the difference. Suppose I have some code over here. Okay, some this amount of code. I'm writing this in a rectangle just to show you that this part of code only. Suppose you have written over here, and after that you have written some another set of code. Okay, and again you need to repeat the same thing, the same set of code again. Something like this. and maybe you repeated some again another code over here, and maybe it has been repeated again. So this part is representing a particular piece of code. I'm not interested exactly what code it is, but I'm interested about the pattern of the program, and maybe many more similar type of, similar, I mean actually maybe many more same piece of code is repeated in the program. In this situation, you see, you cannot say that you will keep this piece of code within the for loop, because if you write this piece of code within the for loop, then what will happen? This piece of code will run n times without any gap in between them. But here the issue is different. I have this piece of code and some another piece of code in between two similar type of code. So in this situation, the traditional loop concept that we have seen is not going to work. So what we can do, you see, uh, here the solution can be something like what we call function. So what is the idea? Idea is that we will write, if I just write the same program here, I will write main function, the same set of lines that is written, and instead of writing this code over here, I will create another function, say fun. Within that function fun, I'll have that piece of code, and what I will do, I will call the function fun over here once, so that this piece of code runs once over here, and then again some another set of code as we have in this particular part, and then again I will call the fun function. So again some piece of code, and again I can call the same function. So what the solution we have found, that instead of writing the same piece of code more than once in the program, I will write, I will separate, I will write the program, I will write that piece of code in a separate function, and I will call the function whenever required in the actual program. So as if this particular piece of code will be executed because I have called this function, and this is what we call user defined function. So actually we can say that function are of two types. Function can be considered as of two types. One is called predefined function, and another is called user defined function. What is predefined function? Predefined function means it's already, the answer is given within the name itself, predefined. So that means the definition of the function is already given within the C library. How the function will work, what the function actually does, everything is written within somewhere in the C library. And a user defined function is a function which doesn't really exist in C library. A programmer can create any function, some with some arbitrary name, whatever name a programmer want to give, and programmer has to define that what exactly the function will do and how it will do. What is the example of predefined function? For example, clr, getch, printf, scanf, whatever. When you use printf function, we don't exactly write that how this printf function prints the data on the screen. So where it is written? It must be written somewhere, because when a computer will execute the printf function, the computer has to understand that what actually the function has to do, function will do, and not computer, actually I should say compiler. So at that time, the definition of printf function is required, which tells the compiler that this is the function, this is the job of the function, this is the way by which the function will proceed and all. Same for a user defined function. Since the user defined function is defined by the programmer, when the program executed, actually program is converted to a machine level code by the compiler has to understand that what is the purpose of the function. So that means if we write a user defined function as a programmer, it is our responsibility to declare it as well as to define the way of execution of the function. So now you see, if we want to see that how a function will work, we can try to realize the concept of execution of a function with respect to a very small scenario. So let's create a scenario, a story, and based on that we will try to realize a function, how a function works. For example, assume that there are three characters in the story. Okay, there are three characters in the story. One character is me. Okay, one character is some client, and one character is you. I have an office, and suppose I am the boss of the office, and or the manager, whatever you can consider, and there is a client of that particular company, and you are working under me. So this is a scenario. Now the client has came for some particular job to the company, and as a manager or the owner, whatever you can say, how we three will interact with each other based on different situation, and that we have to understand first. So let's take the case 1. Let's take case 1, that here I have and here the client. I'm sorry. Here the client. Now what is the purpose of the client? The client want to do some job. For example, let's take a very simple one. Suppose addition of two numbers. Okay. Client want to add two numbers, and for that purpose her client has came to me. Now question is that as a owner, as a company owner, the client want to get the result. Sorry, as a owner, I have to give the result to the client. That's all. So the client has came to me. Okay, and what I have done, I have called you. I have called you, and the data that I obviously client want to add two data, right? So client has to give the two values that whose result client want, whose addition result client want. So the result is given to me. Suppose A and B is given. A and B are the two values. Okay, it's given. And this A and B, now what I have done, I have called you and I have given these A and B to you. Okay. Now what you have done, you have added this two value and found the result, and you have returned me the result. Okay. And after getting this result, I have returned the result to the client. Okay. Client don't have any idea about this presence of you. Client is interacting directly with me, not you. So in this scenario, you see, if we just mark the communications, what you can say, this is number one. I mean, let's make it in a different color so that you can easily get it. Suppose this one, this is 1, then 2, then 3, and this is 4, right? This is scenario number 1. Let's go for the scenario number 2 here. So again, I'm here and client is here, and I'm here, you are here, sorry. So what has done, again, I mean, the purpose of is same. Okay, the job is same, has to add two numbers. Actually I want to show you the comparison between these cases. So again, the client came to me. Now when client came to me and I found that the client want to get the addition of two result, what I have done, I have called you. I've called you, but what I have done, I've told you that do one thing. You take the data from my client. You take the input from my client, actually. The AB that I have not accepted from the client here. Rather, I told you that you take the data from the client, A and B. Okay. And after get addition of these two numbers, I told you to return me the result. So you return the result to me. Okay. And then I return the result to the client. Okay. So what is the strategy here? Similarly, again 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. But remember one thing, this is not something under any uh, particular numbering, because this arrow in this direction is just showing that the data is given from the client to you directly, not via me. Okay, let's go for another scenario. Another scenario is, suppose uh, scenario number 3, I am here, client is this side again, and you are here. Now again client came to me, and in this case what I have done, I have now I've taken the data from my client A and B in a similar way as we have done case 1, and also I have given the data to you. But after, and I told you after addition that you don't need to return me the result, rather you return the result directly to the client. I'm sorry. So you return the result directly to the client. So again I'm telling you what I've done. Client has came and I have taken the data from the client and I have given the result data to you also, and I told you that you don't need to return me the result, rather you give the result directly to client. So if I just numbering it, this is obviously 1, this is 2, and this is 3, right? Where this is the result that you are sharing with the client. Let's go for scenario 4. Scenario 4 can be something like, I'm here, client is here, and you are here. Similar situation, client has came to me, but here again I have not taken data from client. Okay, I have called you, and told you that do one thing, you take the data from client. And also I told you that you don't need to return me the result. You just share the result to client directly. So basically, that means what I have done, we can say that this is the A and B, and this is the result, right? So if I numbering it, it's obviously 1. I've called you, and I told you to take data from client, so it's not part of a number, but you return me the result. So these are the 4 cases, 4 scenario with these 3 characters. Let's repeat it again. I am the boss of the office. You are there is a client and you are working under me. So there are 4 scenario is described. Where if you compare these 4 cases, you will see basically if you consider that in between you and client I am present, you will see that the communication is can be analyzed in 2 ways. One in between me and client and one in between me and you. What I want to say is that if you compare case number 1 and case number 3, what you will see? You will see that in both case number 1 and 3, I have given the result data to you, right? And if you see case number 2 and 4, you will see that in both cases you have taken the data directly from the client, right? There is another way by which we can find a similarity among these cases, some of the cases. For example, if you compare 1 and 3, case number 1 and 2, you will see that in both cases, after calculating, you are returning result to me and that I am returning to client. But in case of case number 3 and 4, you are returning the result directly to the client. So that means these 4 cases we can actually categorize in two ways. In each and every category, two cases will come. And what are the way of categorization? One is the communication from me to you, and one is communication between you, communication from you to me. In two cases, I have given data to you, so this communication exists, and in two cases it doesn't exist because you have taken directly data from client. And in two cases, the communication between you to me, communication from you to me exists because you have written the result to me, and in two cases it doesn't exist. So the way of categorization, I can say that one, you can say that from me to you, the way that I have used to send data to you is what we call parameter. Okay. And similarly, if you say you are in this side and I'm in this side, and the way that you have used to give me the result to me is called return. Now, just try to map these three characters with respect to the concept of function in C program, where I am playing the role of main function, uh, you are playing the role of some child function. Child function means user defined function. And the client is what you can say user, any user of the program who is using the program, who is not writing. User means not programmer. Don't think programmer. User means user who is just giving input to the program and trying to get some output. That's all. So that means you see this function, a function communicates with the main function, and the communication between function and the main function does in this two way mainly. Now let's try to realize one more thing, that as we have seen over here that you are returning results to me by returning, but you see in two cases returning is absent. You are not returning result to me because in case number 3 and case number 4 you are returning result to the client. When you are giving the result to client directly, it does not mean it returns. So that means in two cases return is present and in two cases return is absent. Always remember return means you are returning the result to whom from where you were called. Okay. So that means this return, if the return is not present, return type, let's write. What is return type? Return type is what we call the data type, the data type of the variable that is of the value that is returned from you to me. But in one cases there is no return type because you are not returning result to me over here. You are not returning result to me in case 4. So if there is no return from you to me, then the return type what we call void. If you return something to me, for example under case number 1 and case number 2, then we have to decide what type of value you are returning. For example, if I consider in this particular case that we are considering two numbers which are integer, so that means I can easily say that data type of A and B is int. So naturally result will also be int. So that means you are returning an integer value to me, right? So in that case return type can be int. Even it can be float also in some cases. Even it can be a character also. It can be anything. Any valid data type that we have in C language. Even it can return an address also. Address of a variable, and this variable can be integer, can be float, can be char, can be anything, any other variables. Now, when a function return an address of a variable, then naturally what will come in the scenario? Pointer. So we will discuss about this particular part in the latter phase of the function chapter. But before that, we have to understand that how basically we can write a program having a function and how we can represent this parameter and return type. But remember one thing, this is something that if you don't have anything to return, then simply you can say the return type of the function is void blindly. And if there is anything to return, then you have to decide what is the data type of the variable that you are returning. Okay, and depends on that you have to decide the return type of the function. So now let's try to write a program following these four cases. So let's take the case number one. I have already told you that this client is nothing but a user. So I am taking data from client. What does it mean? It means you can say that basically I'm scanning the data from the client by the scanf function, as simple as that. Similarly, I am giving the result to the client. What does it mean? How I can express this in a program? I can express this just like a printf statement, as if I am showing the result to the user. I am showing means the program is showing. So communication between communication between me and client is not very important or not very interesting, because it's very easy. You can easily understand. Just a part of use of printf and scanf statements. Important is this part. So let's write it. So let's write the program first. So suppose I will start with main function. I have two variables, int a and b, maybe a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. And after this, what I have told you, that client is giving data to me, but I have written here int a equal to 10, b equal to 20, just to I have considered that the value whose result, I mean the data whose addition result the client want is hard coded. Okay, is equal to 10, b equals to 20, that's all. Or in what you can do, instead of writing a equal to 10, b equal to 20, you can easily write a scanf statement for scanning data in a and b. Okay, so I hope you can easily understand this. And after this, I must have something over here to call the function for the addition, which is representing u, right? So now how we can do this? Suppose the function, from the user defined function that as a programmer I will write has to have some name. And how a function is defined? A function is called. Function is called by its name first of all. So I can write sum. If I assume that name of the function is sum for addition of two numbers, and within bracket we will pass the value, or you can say mm, the variable as a parameter to the sum function. So what I will write here, I will write here a comma b, as if that I have called u, and I have passed the a and b as a parameter. So in your side you see, so this is what happened. Now question is that when this particular line executes, what happened? Obviously sum has to be called, the sum function, somewhere the function sum has been written, which will be called and will execute. So that means now it's time to realize that how we can define the sum function. At the time of defining the sum function, one thing you have to write, or one thing you have to uh, what you can say, uh, remember, that is what we call function prototype. Okay, function prototype. What function prototype means? It defines the name of the function, what it does, it defines the name of the function, the parameters, sorry, uh, parameters it can take, the data type and order of the parameter. Parameters. So what is the strategy? Strategy is that first we will write function name. I'm sorry. Not only this, I have many more things, that is return type and return type of the function. So return type of the function means what type of data the function is going to return. So for example, you know, the the prototype is written something like in this way. One first is return type, then space function name, then within bracket here I am writing data type 1, variable 1, comma, data type 2, variable 2, comma, in this way data type n, variable n. This value of n can be anything. It can be 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, doesn't matter. Any number of value you can pass as a parameter from main function to the some another user different function. Okay. For example, in case of some function, how we can write? You see, there is a very interesting point here, that in this particular case number 1, it is showing that I have given the data from client, maybe by scanf function, which I have hard coded in my program currently, and then I will pass the result to you, I pass the data to you through the parameter, and I have done that using A and B. So this is the parameter part, and you will calculate in your site the result, and then you will return me the result. So question is that when you are returning the result to me in your site, you must have something. What I mean to say, that if I try to draw the what is corresponding in the background part from the memory point of view, what I can say? I can say that within, if I consider this is the whole memory space in your computer, and there must be some memory space will be allocated for your main function, right? Something like this. So assume that this is your main function memory, and within this main function you must have two variables, A and B, at least, at least this, up to this I know, right? And A contain 10 and B contain 20. Now, just like main function, we obviously thus there will be some memory space for the sum function also, which where the variables of the sum function will be present. Now, from this particular view, you can easily understand the scope of the variable A and B. The scope we have already discussed in the previous class. So, if you still have any doubt, you can go back and check the previous videos. And in case of scope, I have already told that it defines the area where the variable can be accessed. Since A and B was declared within this main function, that means the scope of A and B is limited within main. That means when I'm calling the sum function, what happened? A memory space for sum is allocated, and somehow this value A and B, this variable, the value of the variables A and B should be transferred to the sum function. But to transfer the variable value, I must have some memory location in this side also, which is not definitely this A and this B, because these memory locations, which is representing variable A and variable B, is limited within the main function only because of the scope. That means I must have two more variables over here where the value of A and B will get copied, and those two variable name will be defined in this way, variable 1 and variable 2. So that means when I will define the sum function, the prototype at least, obviously I must say one thing, that the sum function, the variable obviously is sum, that's okay. I must define some variable over here like this, in this way, and that variable data type should be similar as data type of this A and B, because I am sending something to you. You must have same thing in your side. So int x and maybe int y. So these are our two variables. Data type 1 is int, variable 1 is x. Data type 2 is again int, variable 2 is y. Only two variables I have taken because I have passed only two variables, not more than that, right? So the number of parameters present while calling should be same as the number of parameter over here. So that means with respect to this memory space, two variables is there whose name I have given as x and y. Suppose address of this A is 100, address of B is 200. Address, okay. I don't know as a programmer what is the address. Just to realize the background part, I'm considering there is two address A and B, and this is x and this is y according to the strategy of program, right? And then suppose the variable address is 500 and its variables at the y variable address is 600, suppose. Okay. Yeah, I mean the variable name I have given for this address is y, and variable name for this address given x. And what is the purpose of this x and y? What will happen actually when I'm calling this function sum with this parameter a and b, and I have defined the sum function as int x and int y? That means xy is in your side and ab is in my side, and what will happen while calling, this a will get copied into x and b will get copied into y. Remember, This order is very important. That is why I have written here the data type. It defines the name of the function, the parameter it can take, the data type, and the order of the parameters. Why order is very important? Because it is not mandatory that in the parameter list you will have similar data type in every time. You may have a mixture of data types. For example, in some another program you are passing three variables as a parameter, where the first variable is integer, second variable is float, third variable is integer again. I'm sorry, suppose first variable is integer, second variable is float, and the third variable is character, for example, when you are calling. Now when you are defining the function, you must keep the same order. If you change the order, you will have a chance to get some logical error or a syntactical error. So that's why this order is very important. And I think you can easily understand why this order is important, because the first one will be copied to the first one, second will be copied to the second one. So if you have a change of the order, some wrong copy will happen in some wrong data type variable. That obviously is not wanted, right? Anyway, so up to this fine. Now if you write the corresponding code for this part, you see, basically I can say that a very simple summation code. I can simply write int. I take a third variable z, then I will write z equal to x plus y, because scope of x and y is limited within the sum function, because this is defined over here as declared over here. And now see, the z contains the result, and according to the case 1, you see, you should give me the result to me. Give me means you should return the result to me, because you are child function and I am main function. How you can do this? As you have seen, return. And how a data is returned from a child function to main function? By a keyword called return. Return, then the variable name that I want to return, and then it ends. Here a very important point you have to remember, a very important point in this regard, regarding this return part. A function cannot return more than one value in C language. You see, you cannot write return z comma x or something like that. I mean, more than one variable you cannot return at a time. Okay. And specifically I have written in C language because in some modern languages there is a way you can return more than one data. So it's true for specifically in C language. So since you are learning C language today, that's why you have to remember this rule for the function. Now you see, with respect to this part of the code, at least what I can say, I have declared a z variable again. So naturally another variable z we have to be declared. Suppose its address is 700. And obviously data will get stored here 30, because 10 plus 20. And as soon as this return z will execute, the compiler will realize that the function has to return from where it was called. And what it has to return? It has to return the value z, value present in z. So what will happen? The control of the function will return from the sum function to main function here. Again, the control will return, Fine. But at the same time, as at the time of calling this 10 and 20 gets copied, this 30 should get copied somewhere in the main function also, because with respect to the first case, I want to show the result to the client. That means to show the result that you have generated should be stored somewhere in my side. Presently, result is stored in Z, whose scope is within the sum function only, not within main function. So that means right this moment Z is not visible in my side. So what I can do, I can copy the content of Z to my side, and that I can easily show to the client by printf statement, right? Now to copy this, where I will copy, I don't have any other variable over here. So that means I must write another variable, suppose C over here, where it should get copied. So I must have a variable over here, C, suppose address is 900, where the result should get copied. But how the result will get copied? You see, I have written this, but somehow I have not used this variable C anywhere at the time of calling, so that a compiler understand exactly in variable C it has to return. Because there is another option also. I can return in B also, in A also, whatever. So in this situation, how we can express this? We can express this by writing, instead of by writing here, let's erase this part, sorry. So the actual statement for the calling part should be something like C equal to sum within bracket A comma B. So compiler will understand that whatever value is going to return by the sum function should go to the variable C of the main function. So what will happen? The result 30 will now get copied in this C variable. Now obviously scope of C is within the main function. Now if it is in the main function, now this particular main function, within the main function, I can easily write a printf statement to show the result to client. Something like this. This particular statement is known to all of you. So this is a clear uh, approach of using a function for, as an example, for the addition program. Obviously we will not use this function for addition program, but just to realize how function works, we can explain in this way. Now see, so this is all about the case number 1. But interesting point is that if you realize this case number 1, this case number 2, 3, 4, you can easily write, because the purpose is same. What strategy will be different? For example, what is the strategy over here? Strategy is different in the sense, in this case number 2, that I have called you, but I have told you that give data directly from client, not from me. So that means in case number 2 there is no parameter. Oh, by the way, I have a mistake, one mistake over here. That is, when I have declared this sum function, I have not declared what is the return type of the sum function. Because when sum function is returning something, you must write the return type. What is the return type of? Means the data type of Z that you are returning. Data type of z is int, so return type of the function will be also int. Now let us take a different type of return type case. For example, case number 3. Just I will skip the case number 2 for a while and let's see case number 3. In case number 3, yes, in case number 3, I have given the data to you through parameter, but you are not returning result to me. That means there is no return type. You are returning result directly to client, as if you are printing the result to the monitor to show the result to the client. So if I try to draw the program for case number 3, let's see what I should write. What I should write. I should write something like you can say that the code can be main. As I had told you in the case number 3 that yes, I have given you, right? I have given you. That means variable ABC exists. Int A, B is there, but C is not required. Why not required? Because you are not going to return result to me. You see, you are not going to return result to me. This part is absent. You are not going to return result to me. Rather, you are directly show the result to the client. So, I don't need any other third variable to store the result. So only AB is sufficient. And in the same way, I have hard coded the value of A and B, and you can simply scan the data from the keyboard. And then I have called some function. And with this parameter A and B, right? Because according to case number 3, I have given the result to you, given the data to you, input data as a parameter. And since I have given it to you, you must be in your side also in the same way. That means if I draw the sum function, you must have to variable, and obviously you will do the same job. I mean, you will take a variable z, you will just write z equal to x plus y. Now will you going to write return statement here? Let's see case number 3, you are not going to return result to me, so you don't need to write return statement. That means you will simply write the print statement which will show the result to the client. Now since you are not going to return anything to the main, that means something equal to also you should not write. Only the function calling will start from the function name and nothing to print after this. So here your program ends. But one thing is still left, that is what is the data type of this sum function. You see what I have told you, that return type will be void if nothing is returned. If nothing is returned. So that means here it will be simply void. So if you compare the difference in these two cases, what is the difference? Difference is placed with respect to the return type. Since I have a return type, I have something to return here, that's why I have written C equal to, that's why I have written return statement, and that's why I have written int. So this part, this statement, this keyword, and this particular return type has to be synchronized. If you have written something equal to, you must write return statement, and if you write return statement, you must write the corresponding data type of the variable that you are returning. In a similar way, if you don't write anything here. That means you are not going to return anything from the function. That means you don't need to write int. You will simply write blindly, you will write void. And also you don't need to write this return statement. Rather, you will do some another job. For example, this case. But the strategy of passing parameters and returning and all will remain same. Now, if you compare the strategy from the memory point of view for this function, obviously this particular return will not be present because there is no existence of C variable. Even there is no need to return data. Okay. Now, if you do the same thing, for example, a similar program for case number, say, case number 2. Case number 2 was what? Case number 2 was, I have not given data to you, right? You have taken data directly from client, but you have given result to me. So that means you can easily understand, I hope now, that parameter doesn't exist in this case number 2 because I have not given data to you. You have taken data to me, data from client directly, but return type exists. So that means in the case number 2, if I just write same program, since I have not given anything to you, you have taken data, so A, B will not exist here, but C must exist because you are going to return results to me. So you must write C equal to, this should be right, and the function name. Are you going to pass anything to the sum function? No, you are not going to pass anything to the sum function. You see, you are getting data directly from the client. So that means within the sum function, within the bracket, there will be nothing, empty. Empty bracket means there is nothing in the parameter list. As simple as that. And so if you see definition of the sum function, you can easily say that sum within bracket, again within the bracket I'll have nothing because I have nothing, I have passed nothing to you. So what you will take? You don't require anything, but you require two variables here. Say for example A and B, where maybe you can scan the data. I'm not writing exact code, I'm just writing a pseudo code, scanning data A and B from the client, and then maybe you require another, you require another variable C. You see, I've written C here and also a C variable here. Will they clash? They will not clash. Why? Again, because of the concept of scope. Because scope of this C is limited within main and scope of this C is limited within sum. Although the name is same, but since their area of access is different, so there will be no clash. As if you may have the more than one person having same name in the same class, but they are not same person. They exist in a different location. In a similar way, I can have two variables, but they must be in different scope. Anyway, so now here I can write C equal to A plus B. And according to the case number 2, I should return the result to, you should return result to me and then I will show. So that mean you must return C. And since you have returned, you must write the corresponding data type of C, that is int. You cannot write void. And since you have written over here, now the C of the main function, now I can easily print the result in C variable to the client. So just try to realize the difference between the strategy for the same purpose. Now you see a very important thing. That means there is two things. Two things mainly we have to consider. One is one is parameter, and one is return type, right? So basically what we have seen, we have seen four cases, and you see in case number 1 parameter exists, return type exists. In case number 2 parameter don't exist but return type exists. So you can say, I can say that it's parameter exist, return type exist. In case number 2 parameter don't exist, return type exist. In parameter, in case number 3 you see parameter exist but return type don't exist, right? So in case number 3 parameter exist but return type don't exist. And in case of case 4, it's actually the simplest case, you can say there is no parameter and there is no return type also. So that means there is no parameter and there is no return type. You see, since it is either about yes or no, so naturally it's not possible to have a fifth type of function, fifth category of function. So regarding function, one of these four cases will exist anywhere. Whatever function you use, whatever purpose it may be, doesn't matter. You cannot go beyond these four cases. So as a beginner, you must first be habituated with writing four different cases for any purpose. Let's start with the sum function and then you proceed with some complex functions. But remember one thing, there is no intelligence within the function part. I mean the logic of the function part. Actually, why I am saying this, because whatever you have written in the original program here, where you have repeated the same part, actually what you are doing, you are just keeping the same part once in this function and you are calling it, nothing more than that. So when you are using a function concept in your program, it is not changing the concept of the code a lot, rather it is actually decreasing the complexity of the code, because if you have some mistake in a particular part and if you copy this part in most of the part of the program, what will happen, the same wrong coding will get copied and you will get multiple errors for the similar type of, similar type of mistake. That is obviously unwanted. Instead that, if you store that only once in a function and you just call them, what you will get, you will get the errors multiple times, but the root of the error is only placed in only one place. So it will be very easy to find the root of the error as well as correct the error. So actually that means we can easily understand that in case of using function, we have a high, we can say that we have a lot of benefit if we use concept of function in my program. We modularize my program using various functions. Now so that mean that mean one thing is sure from this particular category, that you cannot go beyond these four cases. So if you, as a beginner, if you want to get habituated of using function, just do some practice on these four cases for the same purpose. You see in my example also the purpose is same, addition of two numbers, but I have done in three ways. Even the fourth way is also possible. Fourth way is what? Fourth way is that parameter and return time nothing is present. That means I have just called you and told you that take the data from the client and also give the result to the client. Don't disturb me. I am lazy person. As simple as that. So how I can represent this in my coding? I can simply write a statement, something like I can write simplest code actually, you can say. Within the main function, I have nothing to declare, no variable is required, because I'm not going to take data from user and give you, even I'm not going to return the result from you and show the client. So I have just called you, that's all. And since I have not taken and not given, that's why nothing in the parameter list and nothing in this side also. And that's all. It ends in this part. Everything is present within the sum function. And what is this? Obviously void. You can easily understand, I hope, because sum is not going to return anything. And here I will have the entire code, say A, B, C, as if you see, you will scan the data, for example, in A and B, and you will then say get the result in C, and then you will print the result to C. That's all. It's as if that the entire simple code of addition in the main program you have copied in sum function and you have just called the sum function once. That's all. As simple as that. So that means using this one of this particular case you can solve any purpose. Okay. So this is all about the concept of function. Now as a beginner, I will it's my suggestion that you must do practice with various small and large problems by using this function, and in four different ways. So you start with very small problems. For example, I have told you, I have shown you here as for summation, and you try to do summation in your home, and after summation you try to do something else, and then I mean, try to go for some complex logic. For example, finding factorial using summation function and many more. So here we can stop our class for today, and we will start with the more detail about the function and other things, other various prospects of function in the next class.